Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Let's Read the non-epistolary episodes of Sec Unit the Status Quo Upholder, Episode 8, Enshittification. Also known as We Have Translation State by Ann Leckie at Home. And then the picture of an extremely subpar thing of labeled as We Have Translation State at Home. Picking up right where we left off. The only reason that I had agreed to it was that the mental health module didn't actually try to adjust my processing or core programming or anything. It just monitored my organic neural tissue. When my neural tissue started to generate weird chemicals and whatever, it would ping me to check in with my emotional state. Seriously, I could have coded that myself. And I have no doubt I said this in the last one, but this emotion check thing, first of all, it doesn't actually do that in the plot. And it doesn't do that in the plot because it's literally just to mock the very basic concept of mindfulness and actual real-world therapeutic techniques that actually do help people, which is to check in with your emotions. We're not actually doing that seriously. This is literally just to make the mental health of the protagonist the butt of the joke, like it always is. It's to mock people who do genuinely have to do this because it always ends in a joke. And the times that it could be a really interesting thing to actually explore, we don't do it because those moments aren't supposed to be jokes. Therefore, there is no mindfulness or checking in with the emotions or examining the emotions on a deeper level. Nope, none of that, because it wouldn't be funny. And we're not supposed to find those scenes funny. Therefore, we don't do the running gag of emotion check. The gimmick. Like the fucking redacted in System Collapse was a fucking gimmick. I told Dr. Barrett was that, and she said, "Would you have ever coded that yourself?" Which was totally unfair and also correct. I would never have done that. And I think that's where we left off at the other one. That was the beginning. This 1, 2, 3. Those 4 paragraphs are the whole entire start of chapter 2. We dedicate the entire beginning of chapter 2 to these 4 paragraphs telling the audience how Murderbot got this mental health module instead of showing that before the book began, even though this would have been fucking effortless. We are instead told that pretty much in a fourth wall break that literally interrupts the flow of the entire narrative to be told that. Not shown it, told it explicitly. And then there is a fucking line break. And we resume the linear narration. That did not need to be there. Actually, there's so many things in this book that you could just remove. So many scenes and shit in this book you could just take out entirely and it would impact the plot in 0 ways. So yeah, there was a whole line break between that and those 4 paragraphs. That exists just to be a fourth wall break. Everything went dark as I lost access to 3 sight and hearing, but I still had access to the Taurus feed. I found the intel drone I'd stationed inside the cargo module. Oh wait, I need the mouse for this. What can I unplug? That's true. We're gonna keep track of how many drones Murderbot has, because I can guarantee you. No. They're supposed to be cheap, remember? Small enough to not be able to see with the naked eye or whatever it was. No. Because don't you remember? Murderbot wasn't actually there with 3. Exactly. It was just possessing 3. In a friendly way. Yes. Because that whole thing where... Maybe that makes more sense if you're actually reading it back to back. I will even scroll up for all the listeners. No, because they're coming directly from the other video. Or they'll just be as lost as us if they do. Yeah, I'll just read the single little sentence. Right! So I am not actually physically present with 3, is what we got told at the ending few paragraphs of chapter 1. And then we got interrupted at the beginning of chapter 2 with that 4-paragraph telling the audience what happened off screen because we can't be asked to show it on screen. Everything went dark as I lost access to 3 sight and hearing, but I still had access to the Taurus feed. Paint, why do you gotta be complicated these days? So, we're gonna keep track of Murderbot's known drones over here with this. I found the intel drone I'd stationed inside the cargo module in the far corner. So we have 1 intel drone. Wow, that's invisible. Did that? Oh wait, I have the keyboard unplugged. That's why. Oh well. Intel drone is red. We'll figure it out the fuck later. I only have so many ports on my computer. Murderbot doesn't even have to deal with that. I found the intel drone I'd stationed inside the cargo module in the far corner. Its camera and sensor view showed the undisturbed racks of cases, all identical except for the bills of lading on their individual feed markers, which was a relief. Which was a relief is its own little floating sensor. And also, do you like the complete unintelligibleness of racks of cases, all identical except for the bills of lading on their individual feed markers? Bills of lading. I did look it up. That's pretty much that's an actual technical term. LADING. I did have to search that. It's not just a random typo. That is an actual technical term. It's just literally never been used in this series, as far as I'm aware. I can't be asked to get my Kindle to try to do a keyword search at this exact moment. You can just ask me. Yeah. Obviously, they would be scanning the cargo containers for contraband, if not stray sec units, and we had accounted for that. We were using the stealth field that the alien remnant infected target system had used on its drones. The small battery and generator was attached to the outside of the case that I was packed in. Humans and augmented humans would see the physical case, but any scans would pass over it like it didn't exist. Do you like the ripping off of Aunt Lecky? Do you like making the overpowered protagonist even more overpowered for absolutely no goddamn fucking reason?
Yeah, because, what Murderbot really needed was to be even more stupidly fucking overpowered and for us to have literally fewer stakes. So the characters, once again, don't actually get to show off their ingenuity or anything, or their uncreativity. They just got a fancy new piece of magic that will do whatever the plot requires.
The book also conveniently forgets about this.
Of course.
I assume it'll come up relevantly at the end, and it'll be framed as this big reveal or whatever. Oh, you silly little readers, you forgot that thing existed that has not shown up on screen or done anything for the plot except for those few moments at the very beginning. Huh. I'm so clever, right?
Really 6 fucking years ago.
Yep. And didn't exist in the series except for 6 years ago. Wasn't even in that? Was there even a stealth field or network effect?
It defied, it was like reflecting or just making them not picked up or something stupid. And it's like,
is that an attempt on commentary on anti-AI facial makeup?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that was just part of the characters sit around and talk about the problem instead of doing a single fucking thing. Drivel, as I said.
Yeah, humans and augmented humans would see the physical case, but any scans would pass over it like it didn't exist. This wouldn't have worked if they used human workers to open the modules and manually scan. Even a human doing a half-assed job had a 70% chance of noticing the discrepancy. But that would cost BE more money, so they scanned the cargo modules from the outside and done automatically.
Well, the preservation crew didn't bring with the president of their entire planet going on a survey to a different country, to an unexplored alien planet, and they didn't bring any of their own security guards because slave labor was cheaper.
They literally didn't even bring their own secret service. They
Literally.
don't even. They apparently don't even have secret service.
Literally what the fucking security people all are. We're just not calling them that. But that's what they were doing.
But just the fact that Mensa, the president of an entire planet, which we all know is a completely politically neutral title you can hold, doesn't have secret service, let alone just random ass regular paid people, while they laud themselves and Martha Wells lauds them as being a utopia.
Because they would literally rather rent a single slave to use as a human shield, rather than get some of their own people that get paid to do actual security instead of just being a literal human shield.
If my case had been surrounded by BE security and combat bots waiting for me to open the seal, I would have felt really stupid. The rest of my body came online and I opened my eyes. Not that there was a lot to see, just the pitch darkness of the case interior. Parentheses. This wasn't as creepy for me as it would be for a human or augmented human. This case is actually pretty nice compared to the ones that sec units are shipped in. End parenthesis. Would you like to comment?
I will refrain, but you can just bring up the whole Martha Wells literally tells us in book one, unironically, that slaves like being shipped in the cargo bay.
Yeah, don't you guys know it's actually really nice that slaves are shipped in the cargo bay, because then they don't have to deal with the social awkwardness of their slave owners just staring at them and talking to them. It's totally a good thing.
Look up this transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah,
Go
go ahead and look up the transatlantic slave trade, and then question yourself why a white woman from from the southern United States, would romanticize and have a enslaved character say it's actually preferable to be shipped as literal property and object cargo than be in the actual fucking thing with other actual people who are deemed as human beings. According to the cargo and motility systems, my module was in a cargo receiving bay, which was 2 bays over from the one that 3 was currently wreaking havoc in. Like other cargo bays, it had heavier than usual security since BE was expecting unwelcome guests.
Why are they expecting unwelcome guests?
We still don't know. We still don't know. We still do not know. And also, the calling them BE and Barisha Stranza, that will just be used interchangeably with no rhyme or reason. You gotta commit to it. Either you're gonna commit to these stupid ass fucking names you've given your fucking villains, or you turn it into an acronym. You gotta pick one. You can't just bounce back and forth with no rhyme or reason and no fucking pattern to it. But via the cameras and my hack into their sex system, I knew all that security was currently on the move towards our original target bay to deal with 3. The responders had no idea what the situation was in that bay since I'd cut off their camera access in there. Which is why I couldn't cut it off in this bay. The last thing I needed was for them to start looking for a secondary breach. It would make this tricky, but what else is new? So we've already established that Murderbot has already hacked into their sex system, aka their security system, and has cut off all camera access to the place that 3 is in. And that's why we can't cut off their camera access to the bay that Murderbot's hiding in. How else? Even though it could cut off camera access to every single bay on the entire fucking station.
Go that far, because 90% of the time, Murderbot's not fucking camera though. It's editing the shit so that it's not appearing on the camera. That has literally been its go-to thing since book 1.
But see, we lampshaded that in the first chapter.
And we have to pretend that Murderbot's totally been doing different shit this whole time, because that's how she has tricked everybody into thinking, oh, Murderbot's gotten better at hacking. It said so at the start of book 4. It said it had improved. Not actually, though. She's literally just straight up lying to you.
But see, we lampshaded that that's what it usually does in the first chapter, and then we said it can't do that here, because these guys, it doesn't know if these people know it can do that, and it's gonna save that for later, like Mickey Mouse fucking Clubhouse. One of the things we didn't know was how their cargo reception procedures worked, so I had to search motility sys for it. Time was somewhat of an issue. I had limited air in the case because it couldn't have full life support without that showing up on the cargo module's power usage stats. I don't need as much breathable atmosphere as a human, but I need some. Enough to keep my organic tissue alive.
Bring a fucking plant.
And also,
Put some duckweed.
and also, you hack everything with the wave of your magic hacking wand. There's no reason you couldn't have full life support in this fucking case and literally just alter the fucking module's power usage stats. You literally do this later in the book to hide your trail for other things. This is literally just the whole wishy-washy, it does what the plot requires it to do, and it can't do those things when the plot requires that it doesn't.
Wells assumes that none of her readers have enough attention span to notice the contradictions. And most of them don't.
Finally, I found the right way to nudge Motility Sys to send the module into the queue for pickup on demand. This got it moved across the bay and 6 levels up, and parked in a module storage rack. It was a good choice because the rack was near the wall with the entrances to the faculty's area. I disarmed my case's seal and the side slid upward. Period. I shoved out and hung in the parentheses limited end parentheses air because the module's internal gravity was turned off. Period. I could use my dark vision filters in here because the readouts on the other case provided enough light for me to work with. Period. The space between the racks was tight, but I tested it to make sure there was enough room before we decided to use it. Period. I grabbed my bag out of the case and unclipped the stealth field generator. Period. Start parenthesis. Hey, looky, we're not calling it BE anymore. We're spelling it out. No pattern, no rhyme, no reason. Varesha Stranza does not know it exists and absolutely cannot be allowed to find out. I'd like to destroy it now, but I wanted to hold on to it in case I needed it. End parenthesis, start parenthesis. If it comes to it, I'll have to eat it or something. Seriously. Period. End parenthesis, start parenthesis. It's 3 centimeters across, so I can probably manage it. It just won't be fun. End parenthesis.
You have guns in your fucking arms. You can just shoot it. Why are we making jokes about how Murderbot would have to eat this thing? It can just smush it between its fingers. It is literally strong enough to smush things. It has metal fingers. We don't need to be making stupid, useless jokes about how it can eat the thing. It can just smush it. And if it magically can't smush it,
It can just vaporize it with its fucking gun arms. Okay. Might have to pause this, friends. Tell her to list out flavors. But yeah, for those keeping track at home, I should just be making a tally mark. Too late. Should be making tally marks for how many parentheses we have in this book, just to really make it visual. I'll start from this thing. So parentheses will be purple. So we got, I'm only going to do it from here on out. So it's going to be, not even going to be the full count. So we have the, let's see. Nah. I don't need as much breathable air as a human. Limited air. Varesha strains of blah blah. We had three parentheses fragments in a row for those keeping track at home, all in the same fucking paragraph. Look. Just ignore those little dots. At least none of those parentheses were inside the other parentheses. But they were all 3 consecutive, and it's a pattern that it'll have 3 consecutive ones in a row, or there'll be 3 consecutive ones, and 2 of those will be inside another one. A rumble echoed through the thin air. My outside camera feed showed me the module had just slid into the space in the temporary storage rack. I pushed off gently and floated up to the ceiling and ordered the drone there to follow me. I was wearing the same type of safety suit and helmet as the legitimate human workers, and the fake security personnel. Because they're just pretending to work.
That doesn't mean they're fake.
We have to magically take the character's word for it, because as we know, the main character is always right and always word of God correct. But notice the word count fluffing. I was wearing the same type of security suit and helmet, and we could just say, as the people on the deck. No, instead we have to say, as the legitimate human workers and the fake worker security personnel. We just keep adding more words.
Yeah.
I unsealed the hatch in the top of the module. The helmet had a filter, which was good because even through it, I could smell the contaminants. Should I just pause at the end of each sentence or just say period to emphasize what's a fucking sentence? Because these so many sentence fragments. I didn't have a good camera view because the giant rack was packed with other modules above, below, and to the sides of this one. I let the drone peek out first. The space outside was dimly lit and wide enough for me to slip out and reseal the hatch. I climbed along its top, the low gravity making it easy to be quiet. There was audible movement not far away, and the camera showed me a platform extending out from the wall next to the rack, about 5 meters from my position, with human workers clumped around one of the control kiosks there. I reached the end of the module and pushed across to catch hold of the access scaffold on the wall. The other modules blocked the view from the occupied platform, and I was using my code to remove me from the recording cameras. From the recording, the cameras were feeding into the security system. Yes. New parenthesis. It's much quicker when I'm not in a crowd. All I need to do is loop in static images of the modules and the scaffold. So that was another parenthesis. I caught hold of a support strut and swung onto the walkway. It was a standard gravity area, and my boots thumped a little as I landed. I'm just trying not to giggle I'm trying not to giggle at all these sentence fragments. One of the humans at the kiosk glanced up, saw what appeared to be another human, and looked away again. I picked up the edge of their feed traffic, enough to know they were workers watching a clandestine recording of a supervisor's meeting instead of working. I was already moving along the walkway, heading for the stairs to the nearest door into the faculty's area. I was running a new walk like a human code I'd written, which gave me a more relaxed posture and a different gait. Many humans are shit at recognizing unfamiliar humans, even from high-res images, and human security tends to rely on their scans and biometrics, but changing body language can reduce the recognition percentage index. I'd also made my hair 2 centimeters longer and changed the color and texture and made my eyebrows thicker. Holy run-on sentence, Batman. And also, so much fucking shit.
We have literally never been told how long Murderbot's hair is in the first place, or what color it is, or what texture it is. So this is all, as I said, as I coined for Witch King, these are anti-descriptions. These aren't actually describing anything. They're words that should be describing things, but they're literally not describing anything. These are anti-descriptions. And it's all for the plausible deniability for the white supremacy.
Does it show my note? What was my note here? Nope, I didn't add a note. I just highlighted it incredulously. Not that you could see it under the suit's helmet. The chances that I would encounter Barisha Sternza employees who had seen me on Hell Plague Planet. It's our cutesy term to refer to the shit from the planet place from network effect and system collapse that all the readers were sick to death of, even before system collapse, were low, but the minor precautions upped the success percentage enough to make it worth it. I reached the hatch and pretended to wait for it to scan an implanted worker ID chip while telling Mutilisis to let me in and then erase the record of it. The hatch slid open and I was through and into the worker access corridor. But don't you know, computer systems who don't have bodies aren't people. Even though this is a story that constantly markets itself as robots are peoples too, even if they don't look like humans. Even though they're literally how. It was predictably low ceilinged, badly lit, and dingy. I passed several humans and let my hood drop and my helmet fold back like they had theirs. So we have a hood and a helmet, and the helmet can fold back. Somehow. No one looked at me, but pretending to be human is always the worst part, and my organic skin had started to sweat. Two human security personnel jogged past, and with the other workers, I pressed up against the wall to let them go by.
Die in class. I'm going to build a goddamn robot that sweats.
What even is it sweating, actually?
Literally, what is it fucking sweating? It never drinks water. It's never doing anything to restore the liquid that it is losing via sweating or bleeding.
It's because sweating is the only way she knows how to telegraph, to tell the audience that the character is feeling an emotion.
Like, literally, nobody's going to goddamn build a robot that sweats. That is fucking stupid.
Excuse me, it's the organic tissue that's sweating, not the robot parts. But also, what is the organic tissue running on, though?
Thing that's never been seen before ever in all of science fiction. Either it's a fucking robot or it's a fucking cyborg. Those are literally the two fucking options for this shit.
I had seen them coming on the cameras and knew there was no alert for me specifically, but still. And here we'll pause again for commentary. Did you notice? Murderbot's starting to sweat. And pretending to be human is always the worst part. But we don't have an emotion check!
It's producing enough strange chemicals that it's fucking sweating.
But there's no emotion check because we're not supposed to find this funny. We're supposed to find this tense and scary. Yeah, notice the complete and utter lack of an emotion check here. You'll notice that later on as well. When there's actual emotion, physical reactions in Murderbot's human organic tissue that's weird and being weird, there's never any emotion check. The only time there's an emotion check is when we want to make a fucking stupid, annoying, boring joke that's not even funny. And literally wears on the nerves of even the most devoted fucking fans. I had a map, but I could have followed the smell of human sweat and old socks to the nearest locker room.
What? You just told us that Murderbot is sweating. So what if humans sweat? The whole joke here is that human sweat smells bad. Okay, what does Murderbot's sweat smell like then? Since you are the one demanding this comparison by literally just now telling us Murderbot is starting to sweat, and then immediately bringing up human sweat in contrast.
Yep.
The fact that Murderbot sweats, that is just so fucking ridiculous.
There were no cubbies or partitions or anything, which was normal. Usual, anyway. I had heard a lot of humans comment adversely on it over the years. The word perverted often came up, which I totally understood. Bare human parts are disgusting. No one should have to look at them. And like, hey guys, look at this fucking purity culture bullshit. Look at this literal, conservative, fucking fundamentalist Christian bullshit right here. Look at this. This is supposed to be a joke. And you know, it's a joke, guys. That's rooted in ideas that are being reinforced through the joke. That it's inherently perverted to get dressed in a communal locker room. And that it's inherently perverted. Did you respond? Okay. But yeah, we're this is not just This is something we are supposed to take in completely and utterly uncritically. Not only that, but we're supposed to laugh and find it relatable that naked human beings existing in a communal locker room is perverted and disgusting. Specifically, we use the word perverted to describe a communal work locker room, a fucking bathhouse. It wasn't a shift change, which was why I had picked this locker room. That's another parenthesis. Did I miss any up there? Nope, I don't think so. And I was looping the camera so there was no recording of me. Again, establishing over and over again. Well, we can't do that because I don't know if they know that I can do that, but then I continue to do that throughout the whole thing. I pulled off my worker suit, rolled it up, and stuffed it in my bag, and quickly put on the spare clothes I'd brought. But where were you carrying those? You're not described as you didn't say that you're wearing a bag. I have no recollection of that, and I read this out loud. It's just right here says it stuffed it in its bag. Oh well. Okay. Oh well. And put on the spare clothes I'd brought. They were a different style from what I would have picked for myself. A longer jacket, wide pants, and a shirt with a loose rolled collar that covered my data port. All in light browns and whites. So, are we supposed to take from this that Murderbot wears? Are we supposed to take from this description that it's not something Murderbot would have picked for itself? Thus, that means that Murderbot wears short jackets, skinny jeans, and this outfit that Murderbot is wearing. This might take because this is a huge ass fucking picture. I completely accidentally.
You can right click the thing.
I don't care. So, okay, the description of what Murderbot is now wearing is here's Murderbot's face. So, a long jacket. Now I got the opening to Chuck stuck in my head. Painfully slow doodling for you guys. So we have a jacket. Oh, it's a long jacket though. What the fuck is the difference between a jacket and a coat, anyways? Too bad. She's the one that didn't give any further description, so she gets whatever the fuck we want to imagine. And that's what happens when you don't actually describe shit. And also, even if she did describe it, it doesn't fucking matter because it's a random ass fucking outfit that has no meaning or reflection on the character. Except for the antithesis of it, apparently. But also not even that, because this is literally just shit that Murderbot will wear anyways.
Literally long pants, a jacket, or a hoodie, and a fucking high collar. This is not describing things it wouldn't normally wear. The only difference between what Murderbot normally wears and this is that Murderbot. Why am I saying Murderbot?
You got
Murderbot.
New York accent.
I don't know fucking why.
And I say
Murderbot usually wears either black or dark blue, and that's it. This is no different except for the fucking colors are different. That's not even remotely the same thing as this isn't what I normally wear. It literally is, except different colors.
So here's what it's wearing. Long jacket, a shirt with a long high collar that covers its data port. Wide pants. And yeah. So if this is something that Murderbot does not usually wear, that implies that what Murderbot usually wears is something the opposite. That implies that Murderbot wears fucking skinny jeans and low-cut shirts, which I forgot to add a collar there. Like, this is what happens when you just say, don't ever actually describe anything to begin with, and then say that something is the opposite of the thing, usually, but it's not in any meaningful way. Like, I guess Murderbot's just wearing fucking skinny jeans all the time and tank tops. Because that's what you say when Murderbot does not wear collars that are high that cover its data port. You're saying that, okay, it's wearing stuff with low collars. It's not wearing long jackets. So, wearing a tank top and fucking skinny jeans. It's like early 2000s fucking mall getup. And these are pockets. Crop top, tank top. And those are like the little wrinkles you get in skinny jeans. Yeah, crop top, tank top. Because yeah, it's the opposite of a concealing long jacket. So I guess this is Murderbot's usual outfit right here. The opposite of what it's wearing currently. And of course, it would just be blue, because every Martha Wells character has dark blue as their favorite color. They were a different style from what I would have picked for myself. A longer jacket, wide pants, and a shirt with a loose rolled collar that covered my data port. What are we talking about by a loose rolled collar? Is it just a collar that folds? Okay. All in light browns and whites. According to Intel, variations on this were common / in fashion currently in this region of the Taurus. Parenthesis. Oh, I'm dropping my phone. Purple for parenthesis. The intel had been correct. The advertising in the feed was full of videos of humans in similar outfits and colors. End parenthesis. I secured the stealth device in the same compartment in my torso where I kept Art's comm, and told the drone to get into my shirt pocket with all the others. All the others. So we'll put a squiggly line there to establish that there's a nebulous... That's not a squiggly line. Paint, you're supposed to be squiggly. Nebulous amount of others are mentioned. No set number, though, because that would be too convenient. Nope. And also, I secured the stealth device in the same compartment in my torso where I kept Art's comm. Why are we doing this after it's gotten dressed? Why not say, as I took off my uniform, I stowed the stealth device in the compartment in... It's in the locker room, which is empty.
Why didn't it do this? Just never mind.
And also, why are we stowing the stealth device in there? Why wasn't it in there to begin with? To be active. And also, why is it not active right now? Because, it's stealing shit from the Imperial Ratch and saying that computers and scanners and stuff and all that can't pick it up. But it has to erase itself from the camera feeds. So it can be magically immune to some kinds of technology, but not other kinds of technology. And also, Murderbot itself, despite being machine-like and being in machine intelligence, can perceive it and be perceived. Anyways, yeah, the fact that it got all these layers on and then it's stowing that in there this is the whole thing about stuff just happening out of order because the author wrote a thing out of order and didn't go back to edit it in to make shit happen chronologically or have setup for those things. Like the fact that it apparently has a compartment in its torso where it keeps Art's calm. Yeah, but did it ever come the fuck up after that?
At one point in 2020, fucking years ago.
And I assume for network effect.
Yes.
So yeah, this compartment in Murderbot's torso, a literal fucking openable compartment in its fucking chest that it can just casually use to store shit in, was forgotten by the entire story for like 6 years. Then I left the locker room and took the first door out into the admin section. It was meant for execs and higher level workers, so it was a much nicer area than the faculty's. Everything was really clean. The high curved ceiling had pointed, fake supports in a material made to look like brown orangish stone. New parentheses. I just need a button that don't have to click. The thingy. Yeah. An informational feed marker said the style was a post-second human diaspora fox. Sorry, I always forget that's not supposed to be pronounced faux. An informational feed marker said the style was a post-second human diaspora faux Southern Temple style revival, if you want to look it up. I didn't look it up. It was meant to be pretty. It was pretty. Oh no, don't think deeper about art. It's just there to look pretty, therefore it's pretty. Don't think about it. Don't look into things. Even when you're invited to. Don't look deeper into art. It's meaningless. It's just there to be pretty. It's just there to be entertainment. Don't think about it. I headed for the first exit into a public area, which was a large disembarkation dome. Yep.
So to the anti-intellectualists, look what he did to my leg. Ask yourself, so why did Martha Wells include that goddamn statement? If not to say that thinking about art is stupid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially when she's the one that says, people who think it's just shallow and funny and ha-ha are willfully obtuse. She actively hates your guts, even more than she hates the guts of people who criticize her work. It's really funny. Mm-hmm. I blah 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 blah. I headed for the first exit into a public area, which was a large disembarkation hall for passenger transports. A ship had finished locking on 7 minutes ago, and passengers were exiting it from 3 different hatchways on the multi-level docks. Even as large as the hall was, it was crowded with a lot of humans who were not paying much attention, except to their comms and feed. I have the hiccups now. Hollow art installations hovered below the curved ceiling, semi-abstract scenes of various things that the human decorators thought went with the decor, I guess. Like oceans with lots of fauna and primitive wooden water boats. Yes.
But now we're getting. That's not abstract. Whatever.
Semi-abstract scenes, which includes oceans with lots of animals and primitive wooden water boats sailing on the ocean. Not even wooden water sailing boats on a constellation of stars. No, it's semi-abstract, but it's a boat on an ocean that's full of animals. Primitive wooden water boats sailing on them. Starfields with constellations superimposed. Humans building things made of stone. New parenthesis. Using scans to check for hazards is important, but so are visual sweeps. There could literally have been a combat bot or sec unit or tentacle monster hanging from the ceiling in stealth mode ready to drop on me. New parenthesis. There wasn't. Because that's the.
It's life until this book. Because that's what that. Why are we framing it as though Murderbot needs to justify looking at the goddamn ceiling?
Because this is how she's justifying describing every single fucking corridor and interior room they walk through in order to pad the word count and the page count.
Saw people like us pointing out that there is zero world building and the settings don't exist and nothing is described, and now she's so-called fixing that by acting like Murderbot. There's just I'm speechless with the fucking what is.
I can only imagine what the first few hundred drafts of Witch King looked like if she was trying to do the non-descriptions things that she does with Murderbot, and then decided to go, clearly was corrected on that, and decided to go on description overdrive and describe every single fucking thing that doesn't matter in a way that doesn't actually mean anything.
Anti-description. She's not describing.
That's what I said. Every single thing that doesn't matter and in a way that doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And the things that you do visualize are completely and utterly redundant to each other and cluttered, and then they don't matter because they vanish within the next second. This hall was past the initial security screen / ID This hall was past the initial security screen / ID check / weapon scan on the docks, and all I had to do was blend in with the crowd. I thought I'd written a note there, but I didn't. But I think it was just incredulousness that now they don't even have interior security checks for anything. So, and we're pretending that this is just a thing that corporations will just do and not just have random weapons checks or just passive weapon scanners at all points in the areas they want to control. You know, the way a dystopia would. A dystopia that demonizes and likes to pretend that crime is so rampant and blah 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 and has all this surveillance state shit, but we want the surveillance state shit because the whole Patriot Act was a good thing actually because it lets them stop crimes. And by them, we mean our protagonist. You know, the US government was super good about the Patriot Act and all that shit. We went through the Okay, I got very confused for a moment at the pronoun switch. All I had to do was blend in with the crowd. We went through the artificial stone arches at the far end, past the last set of safety air barriers. Then we came out into the area that on a normal station would be the port mall or the entrance to the habitat / commercial / industrial areas. I was expecting it to look like a normal station, but I walked out into planetary-like landscape and thought, what the hell? And also, but I walked out into planetary-like landscape and thought, what the hell? And note, the what the hell in question here is not even italicized. It's not even a separate line. It's just all exactly regular formatting. Yeah. There's no formatting on the thinking of what the hell. It's just supposed to be there as a funny joke, not an actual thought. It's just a stylistic fucking lazy-ass choice. The disembarkation arches led out into a multi-level open area made to look like it was carved out of a canyon formed by natural rock bluffs. There were shops and offices and rock faces built of artificial stone in the same style as the admin corridors I'd slipped through. Some were carved outward from the cliffs, and some were inside dramatic, cave-like entrances. On the various platforms reached by ramps and unobtrusive lift tubes concealed in pillars, there were fountains and planters filled with flora. Humans congregated on the upper terraces of places that probably served food and intoxicants. The light wasn't much better than it had been in the cargo docks. It was set for natural, most of it coming from small floating street lamps or sources up in the ceiling, high overhead. Hologrammed clouds helped conceal the infrastructure up there. I hoped they were holograms. If they were real and it rained on me, it wasn't going to make me any less pissed off.
I was really fucking angry right now.
Because Murderbot, in its slow, methodical, not even slow and methodical, it's just completely and utterly emotionless descriptions of everything happening until now, has really, really given off the impression that it's really pissed off you guys.
Even though the thing isn't going off?
Yeah, even though there's no emotional checks. We're not getting emotion checks after every other action and expressing impatience or frustration or anything. Nope. If it rained on Murderbot, it wasn't going to make it any less pissed off than it already was. So we have to be told that the protagonist is
And not
pissed
even
off.
by its emotion.
And not even by its gimmicky, let's spell out to the audience what the character is feeling emotion checks, which exist literally just to be the butt of a joke and to mock people who actually use therapeutic mindfulness techniques. Some passengers strode confidently away like they knew where they were going. Others hesitated, talking on their comms or reading their feeds for information. Which was good, because it didn't look weird that I had stopped. Part of the confusion, new parenthesis, go away. Mine and probably everyone else who was just standing here was at the kiosk that took hard currency cards for booking, transport, and hotels and food and other. Oh my god, how many times are we going to say and in the sentence? Let me make this even more obscenely big so I can actually scroll to the side and have these centered.
If, if the canvas itself is unnecessarily zoomy, you can just right click, like don't have anything selected, and then right click, resize, and then just reduce the entire canvas size so you don't have to keep zooming in as much.
Oh well, we're committed to it. Mine and probably everyone else who was just standing here was at the kiosk that took hard currency cards for booking transports and hotels and food and other crap that humans like weren't anywhere nearby unless they were all disguised as rocks or flora. So instead of saying they took hard currency cards for booking, comma, transport, comma, hotels, comma, and food, or no, it could have been for the kiosk that took hard currency cards for booking, transports, hotels, food, and other crap that humans like. We instead had to insert the word and between every single one of those to pad that sentence out.
Is she actually going to criticize the concept of script?
No.
Of course not.
Despite that one interview having her say that, nebulously, non specifically, some fast food restaurants are paying their employees in like gift cards and just taking in all that profit and tax things. But, like, okay, that's a valid point. That's an important issue. Who's doing that? What can we do to help? We're not going to say who. We're just going to say some fast food places are doing this. Okay, that's useless and unbackupable and like, yeah, unverifiable. And if you're afraid that someone's going to sue you, then just make sure it's an actual factual thing. Because, the floor underfoot was paved with more artificial stone, thank fuck, because the feed map showed that the canyon opened into a desert with red sand and lots of rock formations in various browns and rust and other colors from that range. I walked up to one of the ramps and found some seating in an area of large rocks and potted trees, all with big red leaves and long thorns. New parenthesis. How is that not a safety hazard? End parenthesis.
Maybe they're fucking fake plants that are made out of foam. You know how good fake plants are these days? One time, years ago, 2020, somebody brought some fucking poinsettias up to the register at Walmart around Christmas time. This was, I guess, 2019. And I'm like, oh, I picked it up to scan and said, oh, these are really lightweight. Just make sure you water them when you get home. But they were fake fucking plants! They had literally just looked so real. I thought it was a real plant that was just fucking dry as a bone. That's how good they are.
Visual was useless. I'd have to climb one of the bluffs to get a good view around. New parenthesis. It was too dangerous to deploy drones. I was picking up the edges of some pretty serious signal scans. So we were just told, probably only like maybe 2 or 3 pages ago in the physical book. We were literally just told that Murderbot is past all of the security scans. Pumbaa, let me define babysitting. Cat shenanigans in the background. So we were literally just explicitly told that Murderbot is past all of the security checkpoints and just has to blend in with the crowd. Slurp, glug, glug of water. Now we're told Murderbot cannot deploy any of its drones to look around. And also, it can't get it can't do a visual sweep that it was just lauding as the height of all goodness and good security, because it would have to climb a cliff. And it can't let out any drones, because despite explicitly being past the security things and weapons checks and security scanners, it's picking up the edges of some pretty serious signal scans. What the fuck is a signal scan? Who the fuck goddamn knows?
We can infer, but that's not our job as the fucking audience. She's supposed to be communicating. If the author is demanding that you do all of the work, imagining literally everything and making it all up for yourself, it's a really bad book. Mm-hmm.
But the map projection showed there were more cliffs in the distance, with water cascading over them into various rivers. Like a giant water feature, I guess. There were more canyons with residential housing and retail, but I needed to look for Barish Strands' corporate installation. Was the whole inside of the Taurus like this? I had thought Tran Roland Haifa, with its hologram waterfalls and trees and storms, was over the top. Except Tran Roland Haifa wasn't nearly as gratuitously huge.
They just had little holograms in the middle of shopping center areas. And by little, I mean like in a confined specific spot. There was nothing interesting going on. We also got zero description of what the holograms actually looked like, so it's meaningless.
It's also extremely funny because this sentence just screamed Lightlark to me. I've listened to too many people giving quotes of descriptions from Lightlark, and that's what this reads as. Let's even just do that. Yeah. And just the amount of ands being shoved into the sentence instead of commas. But then also, one of the things is that she'll list out a thing that should have an and in the sentence, but she just doesn't include an and. It'll just be a comma. Action, action, action. Instead of action, action, and action. It's just a weird thing that just kind of throws off the pacing of the sentences. I had thought that, Lightlark, with its mystical waterfalls and trees and storms, was over the top. Except Lightlark wasn't nearly as gratuitously huge. Do you hear it? Maybe it's just me.
It's just bad, right?
That's too. I set up background queries. Gratuitously huge. I mean, yes, you were on a giant-ass space station that encircles an entire planet like a donut. It's gonna be big. I set up background queries to look for the live video of the rest of the Taurus and check news bursts.
It's a space station that is encircling a planet.
Yes.
How big is that fucking planet?
We don't know.
This is a space station that is more than the size of a planet.
Yes.
First of all, why?
Because.
Second of all, I meant in universe, why would anybody do this when you have an actual planet right there? Second of all, why would you kidnap people and bring them here? Why are you kidnapping people from preservation anyways? Just kill everybody on preservation. You're the bad guys. Kill them. Just kill them.
Because that wouldn't let the main characters all live happily ever after all the time, always.
Pointless rescue mission for unnamed, undescribed characters.
Well, they have names. One of them's named Nausea. Like the sensation of nausea. Is the one reviewer. And it's just like, oh my god.
But like mainly like, okay, so this entire space station is literally not just the size of a planet, it's bigger than a planet.
Yes.
And how How far apart are the partitions, like airlocks and shit on this thing?
We don't know.
Cause like, look at Alien Isolation. Look at. Did you finish? Did you read the whole Imperial Ratch trilogy yet?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you know the whole thing with the undergardens.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the fucking airlock doors on this space station that's literally bigger than a planet? And how long did it take to fucking build this? When was this built?
Well, we know it's old because it's got things in multiple numerical systems.
It's bigger than a planet. Do you know how long it takes to build a regular single tiny space station? Let alone a PlayStation. A PlayStation that's bigger than an okay. This is just my disbelief is out the window. I can't suspend it anymore.
I set up background as what that one review pointed out. The level of technology they have available in these books until this point does not match up with being able to make a giant ass fucking space donut that's
Literally
bigger than a planet.
Bigger than an
Bigger than a planet.
by like enough magnitude that it's going around it. Like that is so fucking no.
This is the three worlds all over again.
You can't just do that. You cannot do that.
This is literally the three worlds in the Roxura books all over again, where it's an extremely low tech, nobody has technology. They have bows and arrows and shitty ass wooden fences and no technology, but also there's an entire giant fucking city that rotates on an axis.
And they have flamethrowers.
And they have flamethrowers?
Not regular guns, somehow.
I thought they had guns in the last two books, and that was how she upped the stakes.
No, I'm pretty sure they just have the flamethrowers. I don't remember, though.
Yeah. This is just a thing she'll do. She'll establish the level of technology for her fucking setting, and then anytime she just needs to throw in some new fucking reader bait to get interest, to desperately try to get and maintain interest, she'll just throw in this random thing that's orders and orders of magnitude far more advanced than anything previously seen before, and it doesn't actually do anything or actually meaningfully exist in the universe, except for when it's on screen. And when it's on screen, it barely exists then, too.
Got so delayed that the entire airport just gave everybody $200
To just get food and shit.
Go and get food. Yeah.
Okay, that's
like they fucking.
That's at least bare minimum. Okay. I set up background queries to look for live video of the rest of the Taurus and check news bursts in the local sex system for any alerts and started searching the map.
She clearly did not read any of these words out loud, or she would have realized that sex system just sounds like you're saying sex system. Sec unit.
Sex unit.
Literally. Like, bare minimum. Say shit out loud.
I was keeping my scanning to a minimum. As we just said, setting up background queries to look for live video of the rest of the Taurus and check news burst and the local sex system for any alerts and started searching the map. But, Murderbot's keeping its scanning to a minimum. Totally. But the map verified that the large shapes looming over the desert and the canyons were corporate installations, made to look like mountains, stretching from the fake desert cliffs up towards the cloud-obscured ceiling. What the fuck is a corporate installation even supposed to mean? Is this supposed to be like a fucking building? Is this the space equivalent of an office building?
I'm just getting stuck on how big is the space that Murderbot is currently standing in? How far does this space stretch without fucking airlock doors partitioning everything? It's a space station. How big is this fucking area?
It apparently gets worse, because apparently, according to the reviews, there's an entire ocean in one of these areas. I haven't even gotten that far yet. With actual water boats. And as the reviewer pointing out, the level of technology advancement displayed in this book is completely and utterly absurd and completely unfounded in the rest of the fucking series.
This is shit that, like, you can't just do this.
You can't do this 8 books into a 9-book series.
You can't.
This is tech and shit you have to establish in the first book.
saying that
Lights sprouted on them as the fake sky darkened further. The informational feed showed there were spaces for offices and manufacturing, all owned by Barisha Stranza but rented out to partner organizations. The corporation names and logos discreetly small. I found the Barisha Stranza installation I needed. It was 30 plus kilometers away. I guess that's what we're supposed to work with. It's a space office building. I normally try to avoid using station pipelines. Yes, it's a office building, a space office building. I normally try to avoid using station pipelines and other forms of transport because it's too easy to get trapped.
assumes that her audience has no recollection of a single fucking thing that has ever happened. I never use space station trains and shit. You literally do every single fucking time. Martha Wells is just lying to you as the fucking reader and hoping that you have your brain turned off and won't notice.
Literally expecting the audience to have the memory of the mythological goldfish who, mythologically, because that's a fucking myth, forgets everything after 3 seconds as a justification for animal neglect and abuse by keeping goldfish in tiny ass fucking bowls. That's the reason that myth exists, by the way. It's literally just to justify animal abuse and neglect. Just because it's a fish doesn't mean you get to fucking treat it like a fucking object that you can fucking torture and all this shit. Blah blah blah. I normally try to avoid using station pipelines and other forms of transport because it's too easy to get trapped. But there was no way I had time to walk. It didn't even look like you could walk. Actually, no. I keep adding emphasis onto words that are not italicized. There is no italics in this book. Actually, now I'm wondering. Are there actual italics in this book at any point that's not from the feed? I'll have to check that later when I'm reading again. I didn't even Chapter 2. There was no way I had time to walk. It didn't even look like you could walk. Did the humans and augmented humans slog through the sand? And look, how we're still differentiating regular humans from augmented humans. Well, this has my notes. My Kindle has all the notes and stuff on it. I mean, you could always just page through with me. The problem with planetary Tauruses. Taurusi?
Multiples? You can't say that, Martha Wells. You can't do this. That's not how this works. No.
The problem with planetary Tauruses, Taurusi, is that they're bigger than the planets they circle. Like, a lot bigger. The transit rings and stations I had been on needed transportation or other mobility aids for humans, but we're talking minutes to hours to get across or around habitable areas.
It's pissing me off that she's calling public transport a mobility aid when she fucking hates physically disabled people and will not let any characters actually become physically disabled to the point of needing an actual mobility aid. And now she's using the term wrong for fucking abled people. It's pissing me off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can continue.
Yeah, I'm wondering where all my notes went, unless I did something by accident to get rid of them. Because I definitely had a note on this, painstakingly typed out very early in the morning. No. It's on my Kindle. You can get the thingy and it'll do all this secure shit. I don't know the actual tech details. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I had a whole little rant here as well about literally referring to mobility aids, which is an actual fucking established term that actually means something, like a fucking wheelchair, or a cane, or a walking stick, and we're using it to describe public transportation instead.
in some ways, in other scenarios, you could refer to public transit as a mobility aid. Like, I kind of consider my bicycle to be a mobility aid because walking will make my hip dislocate. Biking, for some reason, doesn't. You could talk about public transport being a mobility aid, but not in this, not like this. Not with Martha Wells doing it. 8 books into the series where she refuses to let anybody be physically disabled.
They're not going to be able to hear you as you walk away. And while we're still 8 books into a 9 book series called having disabled people as a completely separate category from normal baseline humans by calling them a completely separate category of augmented humans with absolutely zero commentary on this. With a Taurus, that time was measured in corporate standard days, and that was just this zone. Do you like how we never actually get a definition of what a corporate standard day is? Or why the corporates would have standard days? What's a corporate standard day? Is that 24 hours? Is that 72 hours? Is that however many hours are in an Earth standard week? So that they'd only have to pay people for 4 days of work in a month? You know, things like that. The intel on various news and entertainment feeds I had been able to find out about this.
That we can convince ourselves by us putting in the effort to make it all up for her that her writing is actually really deep.
The intel on various news and entertainment feeds I had been able to find out about this Taurus was all just anecdotal, so I thought the humans were exaggerating. What do you mean it's all anecdotal?
What is?
The intel on that it had found on various news and entertainment feeds about this station were all anecdotal. So there's no video footage from here, there's no tourist pictures, there's no commercials for people to come visit it or anything. It's all just anecdotal. Okay. New parenthesis. You may be asking yourself, if the giant Taurus was just as hard, if not harder, to get around on than the planet, why did the humans build it and not just a ring of normal-sized stations? I was asking myself that too.
Martha Wells, again, we've said this so many fucking times. Lampshading the problem with your story is not the same thing as actually solving that problem or not having that problem exist in the first place. Just because you lampshade the fact that this is literally unbelievable
and contrived
doesn't mean that it's actually good writing.
I also couldn't find any feeds linking to any other zones, which was confusing, until a query turned up a notification in the public feed, buried under a stream of advertising. The feed was localized to the individual Taurus zones. So sitting here in the bearish Estranza controlled zone, I literally could not pick up a feed from the next zone, even if its border was right on the other side of the port I had just exited. What the fuck?
I'm supposed to care. And I'm supposed to care.
I mean, planetary feeds are localized by geographical area, obviously, but you can connect from one to the other and they share news updates, etc. New parenthesis. And yes, we're including the parentheses from the emotion checks as parentheses. Emotion check. This sucks. See how we're not actually doing anything with the emotion checks and it's literally just to make a joke? It was going to make getting to the exit point more tricky.
We know exactly where. I mean, here's. I said February 17th, 2021, when we were attempting to rewatch Stargate SG-1, I said, so the writers are lampshading the problem with the writing instead of fixing them. They do realize this doesn't do anything except annoy people, right? And the answer is no, the writers of Stargate don't realize that. And also...
And the funny thing is that it's also drawing the attention of people who didn't notice the problem to the problem. No wonder she's a Stargate fan.
Yeah, Martha Wells. Lots of Martha Wells's writing flaws literally come directly from Stargate, explicitly including the whole if I lampshade the problem, that means that it's not actually a problem.
And if my characters are part of the military-industrial colonization machine, then it's a good thing, right? And also, if my characters commit war crimes, they're not actually war crimes. Because a war crime committed by accident, which is totally a thing you can do, isn't really a war crime, and nobody should be mad at my characters for it. And in fact, if you get mad at my characters for committing war crimes, you're the real war criminal here, and you should be stripped of your indigenous fucking name, and we're gonna do blood quantum on ya. It was going to make getting to the exit point more tricky, since I couldn't query info on it in advance. But fine, whatever, let's just do this. At least the excessively local news wasn't saying anything about 3, and the security alerts indicated the humans had no idea where it was, though they did suspect it was a rogue sec unit. New parenthesis. It was a little odd that they had leapt to that conclusion if they didn't know we were coming. You, motherfucker, are the one who keeps saying this motherfucking narration keeps insisting they're on high alert because they know they have unwelcome guests coming. We're doing all of this because they know that they have unwelcome guests coming. They're expecting a sec unit to be sent. They're expecting me, Murderbot practically shouts in the first fucking chapter. And now, here's that sentence that you apparently didn't hear. In parentheses, of course. It was a little odd that they had leapt to that conclusion, which is that 3 is a rogue sec unit, if they didn't know we were coming.
Wait.
I had given another BE sec unit the governor module code. It's not a code, it's a universal password that's never been changed or updated, and that's explicitly, textually, what we were explicitly spelled out in. But we're trying to retcon that and desperately hope that nobody with their brain turned on rereads the first book, even though this fandom is known for mindlessly fucking consuming media repeatedly on repeat without actually looking at the details or absorbing anything. I had given another BE sec unit the governor module code. Had that unit ended up here, running around, messing with cargo receiving bays? It might be possible, but it seemed really unlikely. End parenthesis. Start parenthesis! See? Sometimes logic is not helpful.
What?
Because remember, in the first chapter, an entire ass fucking chapter ago, Murderbot was having this random nonsensical rant about too many logic statements in risk assessment, making it wonky or something like that.
What?
And neither of us could tell if it was talking about its own risk or threat assessment. Who the fuck knows what the difference is? Or if it was talking about 3s.
What you're saying is too logical and unhelpful. What? Is Martha Wells just making fun of the concept of logic?
I guess.
What?
The local news wasn't saying anything about 3, and the security alerts indicated the humans had no idea where it was, though they did suspect it was a rogue sec unit. It was a little odd that they had leapt to that conclusion if they didn't know we were coming.
Even though we established in chapter 1 that they know you're coming.
And we've repeatedly since then established that they know you're coming. Now we're told that they don't know you're coming, and they have no reason to believe a rogue sec unit would be there, even though you were explicitly taking all of these measures to make them believe that 3 is actually the Murderbot in question, pretending to not be a sec unit. Yes.
She's yelling at her audience.
We're literally in the second fucking chapter, fucking up the entire narration so badly that this is just a giant gaping timeline narrative plot hole. We explicitly established, repeatedly, including just a few paragraphs ago, that Barisha Stranza knows that Preservation is sending somebody, and that that Preservation is likely to send Murderbot. Now we're told that it's weird for them to jump to the conclusion that the goddamn fucking decoy, who is explicitly acting.
Post about the other day. The fundamental difference, even if we ignore everything else, if we ignore all of the bigotry, the fundamental difference between the Murderbot Diaries and the Imperial Ratch is that the Imperial Ratch demands that you pay attention to it and demands that you think about it.
And it rewards you for doing so.
And you are rewarded for doing so. And the Murderbot Diaries punishes you for trying to pay attention to it and trying to think about it.
And trying to make any of its fucking own fucking explicit setups and sentences mesh.
Statement. We are being punished right now for trying to make sense of the thing that doesn't fucking make sense, and that's why it's written so badly. And now she's literally saying that logic is bad.
Yep. See, sometimes logic is not helpful. Whatever.
So, again, just a last part. Again, very fucking clearly, she saw people saying that her stories are illogical. Now she's making fun of people who are trying to apply basic logic to what she is writing.
And she can't even be asked, nor can any of the editors at Tor be asked to actually make any of the fucking explicitly stated statements and setups in this thing make any kind of fucking logical sense.
This is not Murderbot being an unreliable narrator, because if it were, we wouldn't be confused, because the story itself would be telling us what Murderbot is lying about.
Whatever, I couldn't get any more intel here and I needed to go. I searched the map for the nearest pipeline or tram or train or whatever they call their interior transportation system. That's a sentence.
So she's making fun of, again, she's the one who goes around refusing to just call things what they are, and now she's mocking people who point this out by, again, lampshading the fact that she makes up
a million
words
fucking
every
words
single goddamn time instead of just letting anything be simple and self-explanatory, while also refusing to explain the words that she's using, and now she's shoving all these extra words in just to make fun of people in the audience.
And to pad that word count.
That's why, yeah. Wow.
Instead of, a writer who's not pushing for specific word goals in order to make bank, I searched the map for the nearest train. And that's how that sentence would be. That's how short that sentence would be. Because this is she just writes in fragments of sentences, as a lot of the one-star reviews point out that.
Binti does that too, and it gets to the point that it's unreadable.
Mm-hmm. Instead, we get, I searched the map for the nearest pipeline, or tram, or train, or whatever they called their interior transportation system.
There's only so long you can have a narrator who's annoyed at everything and thinks everything is stupid. Including
before you annoy your fucking audience. What the fuck? No italics again. The fast transit pipes were inside the mountains. There was no connection to the port. The nearest mountain was 3 kilometers away, but it required entry codes.
Who gives a fuck? Again, Murderbot doesn't need entry codes.
Google how far a kilometer is.
That's I think we decided it's like slightly more or slightly less than miles. That's not a long distance at all, by the fucking way. Kilometer. Okay,
that's less than 2 fucking miles.
It's a whole 3 kilometers away. Murderbot, who is completely able-bodied, whines
and can run on
1.8 miles.
It's not even 2 miles away. And
Murderbot
doesn't have to breathe. Murderbot has superhuman strength and speed. Murderbot could literally sprint there. What?
We literally just
look up running the mile times. What's a fucking random average human running a mile time?
Not even running.
Because I think it's 15 minutes for fucking teenagers to do it. 15 to 20 minutes to jog.
It takes the average person 13 to 20 minutes to walk a mile.
This is fucking goddamn hilarious.
It would take Murderbot 15 minutes to get there. Because
look up how long it takes Usain Bolt to run a mile.
No,
No,
that's
no.
sprinting. That's
Yes,
sprinting.
Murderbot does not need to breathe. The Murderbot does not tire. Murderbot could run
But
laps.
to keep it, we know we have to use logic, even if Martha Wells isn't. So Murderbot's supposed to be not very obviously sprinting. So it would just be walking. It can literally take the average person.
But remember, it's still editing itself out of the camera footage this whole time.
It still has to deal with other people looking at it. We have to still use logic. But, like, it can take the average person as little as 13 minutes to walk a mile. And that's the average person. Murderbot could walk this 1.8 miles, which is what 3 kilometers is, in 15 minutes by just doing a little quick step. Just not noticeably enough to be suspicious, but like retail people, you all know I have to get right there to this fucking location in 5 goddamn seconds. There's an urgent task. There's an urgent task for you. You can walk in a very specific way without thinking about it if you have an urgent task that you need to do, and people will just get out of your way because they can see
you're on a fucking mission.
You have a fucking task to do. They are going out of your fucking way. Murderbot could literally just do that. It's in worker's uniform, didn't we say?
It's now in regular clothes that it would usually not pick out for itself.
We're in a corporate dystopia. There's nothing stopping Murderbot from fast walking and looking distressed and pretending to talk on the feed about losing out on a promotion with somebody.
I've lost the access code to my fucking hopper. Now I gotta fucking walk to that meeting and it starts in 20 minutes.
Literally. I cannot believe she chose 3 kilometers. Denny skidded the last few meters on their knees.
So yeah.
Okay.
The nearest mountain was 1.8 miles away.
Oh no, the horror!
But it required entry codes.
The nearest mountain is only 1.8 kilometers away.
1.8 miles.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The mountain is 1.8 miles away from you? Okay, picture in your mind the lake, the Triangle Lake, that literally, the little path they paved, that's a mile. They did that on purpose so that people could keep track of that and like set daily goals.
You mean that Murderbot is in fucking spitting distance of this mountain right now?
You can't see anything. That the mountain is just gonna be the whole horizon. This is her
Oh
using...
my god.
How high is the ceiling? How big is the ceiling in this fucking area?
We don't know. There's
oh my god. The Taurus, the entire space station is bigger than a planet. We haven't been told the distance horizontally that it goes before there's a partition for an airlock. How high is it going vertically without any kind of different fucking floors that include airlocks because you're in space? That there's an entire mountain! A mountain that's only 1.8 miles away. I don't think you all understand how close that is for it to be a fucking mountain. That means Murderbot.
The entire
It doesn't need to be looking at a map to see where the closest mountain is. It's a fucking mountain. You would literally it's just right there. This is
her is this the metric system? Kilometers and stuff?
No.
Yeah. This is her using kilometers and meters without and using them as though it means feet and miles, or bigger than a mile in this case, because it's really hilarious that we're supposed to think 1.8 miles is far for Murderbot. And not actually, like, doing the conversion or doing any kind of visualization to see how far this shit is. It's really bad and really telling about exactly the quality of writing you're getting here. But, per the text, sometimes logic just isn't helpful. The nearest mountain was 3 kilometers away, but it required entry codes. I had the codes I would need for my target, but it was 30 kilometers away, and I was here. For fuck's sake.
Going like this. be. And then it's literally right there. But the fucking character.
I mean, next time we're at the lake, we could literally just be like, "Hi, look, guys. This is how easy it would be for Murderbot," and then just walk around it. No, I mean just how long it takes to walk. 1.8 miles.
Oh my
And that's
God.
at a normal ass
That's
disabled human walking pace in high heat. I had codes I would need for my target, but it was 30 kilometers away and I was here. So I guess 18 miles away. If we're doing 3 is 1.8, so 30 is 18 miles. That's still not anything fucking dramatic for Murderbot, guys. And I was here, for fuck's sake. I could hack the entry codes on the nearest mountain, but what I was seeing in the security feed regarding those was not encouraging. There were warnings, even for high-level corporate visitors. You hearing this shit? So, to recap, when Murderbot got off out of the little port area with everybody else, we have firmly, explicitly established that it's passed all security checkpoints.
Well, okay. Denny skidded the last few meters on their knees. Does Martha Wells think that a meter is literally just a foot? Probably. And that a kilometer is just a mile?
Probably.
Because how the fuck else could you come to the conclusion? Like 3 miles is still not enough distance to pretend that a mountain is not the entire horizon.
Mm-hmm.
You know how big a mountain.
Anyways, we established when Murderbot joined the crowd of people that it was explicitly past all security and weapons checkpoints and just had to blend in with the crowd. Then we were told that it couldn't get a visual because it would have to climb up a mountain and that would be hard. And also, it can't let any of its drones out of its pocket, its nebulous amount of drones out of its pocket, because it was detecting the edges of some serious signal scans. And now, we're told this. I could hack the entry codes on the nearest mountain, but what I was seeing in the security feed regarding those was not encouraging. There were warnings, even for high-level corporate visitors. Security performed visual checks on the borders of each mountain, stopping the transit pipeline to do so. Obtaining or verifying correct documentation was strongly encouraged before leaving the port. I could probably still hack my way through, but the visual check notice worried me. There was no intel in the security feed about what the process entailed. Was human security or a sec unit going to use a facial recognition scanner, or were we talking a body cavity search? One could so easily escalate into the other, and I don't have body cavities, not like they would be looking for. So, this is our excuse for Murderbot not magically hacking its way into the nearest mountain, which is only 1.8 miles away.
A distance we're pretending is
insurmountable. And so difficult. 20 minutes away. And it's probably a shorter amount of time than it took for it to actually get out of the cube and into this area. And then we're saying it can't do that because, what about the visual check? That's so worrying. It's not like it could, climb under the goddamn fucking carriage of the train or anything, hide in the restroom and show that it's unoccupied, and fool the scanners into thinking it's unoccupied or anything like that. Anything?
You mean all the shit it's been able to do this entire time?
Literally, it's just contrivances to keep the plot going. Not anything that's actually naturally occurring that actually is an obstacle. It's all contrived because we've seen over and over and over again, including in this text, literally like 5 minutes of fucking part, that these things are not actual obstacles until they have to be, purely because the plot says so.
To railroad the plot.
Yeah, to railroad the plot.
People make the railroad for railroading you.
New parenthesis. Let's be real. One reason I was so antsy to get to some kind of transport. Antsy. Murderbot is apparently super pissed off, and it's also antsy to get to a transport. Let's be real. One reason I was so antsy to get to some kind of transport was so I could sit there and watch some media. I was still really fucking angry, and it was the only thing that helped. New parenthesis. Emotion check. I just really need some media. New parenthesis.
understand the emotion check. What does it look like? Show me the screen.
It's
I'm
literally
confused.
just parentheses.
Is the emotion check just saying the words emotion
It just
check?
says,
And
it
then
does
Murderbot
parenthesis, and then it says emotion check, dot, dot, whatever that's called, and then Murderbot will say something.
instead of actually doing any introspection, it's just a trite.
Yes, it's
comment.
just a random snarky comment.
This sounds like it would have been a Tumblr post.
Anyways, the new parenthesis. Helped me stay focused, not helped me get angry. I don't need any help getting angry. I was great at that on my own. But this level of anger for this long was making my performance reliability drop.
What?
Even you're not angry, and your performance reliability dropping has not happened in this book. Literally, it has not happened even once. This is the first fucking mention of performance reliability dropping. I'm fairly certain. And it's literally not even happening. This level of anger for this long was making my performance reliability drop. Is it? Okay, what percent are you at? What percent were you at the beginning of the book? What percent were you at when you first said randomly out of the blue said that you were really angry and you were so pissed off? What percent were you when you said that you couldn't send any drones out and you couldn't get a visual and the mountain was 1.8 fucking measly miles away?
Imagine if Murderbot had literally any creative hobbies at all. It could be crocheting right now. It could be crocheting right now.
Okay, fine. I checked for other transportation routes. There had to be some.
Just walk. It's only like Murderbot is complaining so much about not having a goddamn train. It could have gotten.
We're also pretending that it can't walk and watch media at the same time, even though it does that all the time in the previous things, and that it will literally tune out of active conversations it's in because it's watching things. There were private and a few public passenger shuttle routes all along the outer hull. Near parenthesis, yes, it would be quicker if you could take a shuttle straight across, but there's a fucking planet in the way. End parenthesis. But the shuttles seemed to be for transport over large distances of the tourist to zones remote from this one, and there weren't a lot of stops along the way. And I had just gotten inside. I wasn't going outside again. Even though that would solve so many of your fucking problems. You just said your destination is 30 kilometers away.
Again, that's only 18 miles.
Yeah, and that's only 18 miles.
It could be walking right now.
It could be walking this whole entire time instead of complaining and sitting around debating what to do next. It could be taking actual action.
This is the classism again. This is the classism. Martha Wells can't imagine Murderbot walking anywhere instead of using automated transportation because Martha Wells can't imagine walking anywhere because, you know, if you walk around, you might encounter poor people.
And that's scary.
What other reason is there for Murderbot not to be walking right now?
This entire time.
Literally, this entire time.
I needed to stick with something with a lot of passenger volume.
I, blah, 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 looked at the map, and I set off in I knew which general direction I was supposed to be heading, so I started walking. It was going to be an easy 1.8 fucking miles to the first place, and I could check the map for the specific direction I needed to go while I was on the way there.
10 minutes later, I arrived at my destination. I had been able to start jogging lightly and then break into a full sprint as soon as I was out of visual range of the fucking pedestrians.
Okay, for everybody listening to / watching this video, if you are able to, go for a mile walk at some point and just time yourself and see how much effort it takes. And now
or if you play Pokemon Go,
yeah,
just walk 3 kilometers.
And see think about how much effort it takes you. And then pretend you're Murderbot, the literal fucking super-powered cyborg that doesn't need to eat, doesn't get tired, barely needs to breathe, doesn't get out of breath,
Doesn't feel exertion.
doesn't
physical
feel
exertion.
any physical exertion whatsoever.
And you can be watching your favorite fucking
And
TV
you
shows
can-
in your head the entire time.
Yeah. That's what Martha Wells is telling us is insurmountable right now. Oh my god.
I needed to stick with something with a lot of passenger volume and easy access. They had private air vehicles, lightweight, designed to fly on restricted, low-grav pathways through the open spaces of the Taurus and through special air corridors somewhere in the inner ring that the map was vague about. That's such a goddamn fucking long sentence.
Read it again. I wasn't paying
This is all one sentence. They had private air vehicles, lightweight, designed to fly on restricted low-grav pathways through the open spaces of the Taurus and through special air corridors somewhere in the inner ring that the map was vague about. I kept my expression thoughtful while ads to buy or rent one cascaded through my feed. They also had ground vehicles, running on tracks carved down into the fake stone which supported the fake sand. Most of these were private too, but there was a schedule of public ones that you could pay to ride. Okay, that could work. One had a route that would take me to the target Barish Estranja mountain installation.
That's only 15 minutes away
By walking.
and less than that if you are Murderbot.
Each public vehicle held 30 passengers, new parenthesis. There is fucking zero reason they can't put pipe transit along those routes. Are you kidding me? And there was a depot for them hidden in a cave 60 meters or so down the fake canyon from my current position. See how far away 60 meters is.
Like 200 feet.
200 feet down. There were still a lot of humans coming in from the disembarking hall who would be looking for transit too, so I got moving. I hate a lot of things, but I didn't know I hated Tauruses until I got here.
Why
Page
is
break.
she telling us there's more than one of these fucking things? Just a single one existing is fucking beyond the scope of this fucking setting.
Yep. And we're just saying, I hate Tauruses. Just like Murderbot hates planets. A thing that anybody can actually fucking hate in any conceivable way. And it's literally just the excuse to not have things set on a planet, because then she would have to do literal world building. And we all know she can't handle metaphorical world building. When I selected my destination from the feed menu in the transportation area, new parenthesis, so another fake stone carved gorge with fake plants and fake lichen, open to the fake sky.
Somebody yelled at her for not describing anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she's punishing us by putting them in parentheses. Somebody told her, you have to actually describe things. You can't keep literally having characters walk through blank voids.
I had to enter the code I'd been given that was supposed to allow me entry. And so after all that agonizing about, oh my god, he's so far away, and then we time skip and Murderbot's just standing in front of the target mountain.
I thought this was the entrance to the train.
No.
The bus.
No.
It's at the mountain.
It's at the mountain that's 30 kilometers away. After all those fucking paragraphs and sentences and shit agonizing over 1.8 fucking miles.
I don't know how to say it the British way. Just standing there whinging.
Yes.
Why am I saying that the British way? I don't know why, but the British way describes that. Whinging. What the fuck?
Yeah. Time skip. When I selected my destination from the feed menu in the transportation area, another fake stone-carved gorge with fake plants and fake lichen open to the fake sky, I had to enter the code I'd been given that was supposed to allow me entry. And the only code that's been given that's supposed to allow it entry is the code that it was given that's supposed to allow it into the Barish Estranja mountain. Yes. But it's not. Because we've time skipped past that. This was the first of what I was sure would be many increasingly shitty moments involving this code. I knew from even the brief skim of the port sec system that personal codes were required for most, if not all, of the private habitat installations in Barish Estranza's zone. But there could be an alert tied to the one I had been given, in a system I didn't have access to yet, only accessible from a sequestered feed somewhere. And that alert could say, kill the idiot who arrives with this code. Of course, when I entered the code in the transit menu, all it did was accept it and issue me a marker for my feed to use for boarding the next vehicle.
See, this is
Okay.
the bus. I was right.
But yeah, there's the amount of time skips. The merciful time skips we get in this just make everything that come before it even more fucking useless, redundant, and a waste of paper. Nothing would happen here, in these port and public areas where all the corporations had extensive treaties. It would be when I got to my destination and handed myself over to them. It's not like I had any kind of real choice. I paid extra for a private seat in the vehicle, a little enclosed cubby with a screen for the feed, a liquid dispenser, and a waste elimination port that slid out of the wall. Gross. Also, available space was fine for me, but I had been shipped as cargo a lot. I wasn't sure how great it would be for a human, especially a human who fidgeted. There were no windows on the entire vehicle, which was not made out of fake stone or even fake wood, which frankly at this point was somehow a little disappointing. Oh, wait, that was a parenthesis. Did I skip any other parentheses? Nope, okay.
And again, Martha Wells is saying that being shoved into confined spaces isn't traumatizing or anything. You think it's fun.
Yep, Murderbot's perfectly fine with these enclosed spaces.
Not like a source of trauma or anything, because who gives a fuck about that?
Mm-hmm.
Not Martha Wells.
Let me reread this. There were no windows on the entire vehicle. And that's a sentence if I don't include the stupid ass commentary about it not being made out of fake shit. That's a sentence. There were no windows on the entire vehicle, period. Though there was a channel where you could watch the outside via the feed for an extra fee, period. Maybe they used the money to help pay for the landscaping, period. There was one review who described this book as the only way they were able to keep any fucking sense of what the fuck was going on is if they skipped every single thing in parentheses.
I was going to say, because I'm over here lost. We got told what outside looks like, and I don't remember what it fucking looks like because there's so many goddamn parentheses in between.
Mm-hmm. There were no windows on the entire vehicle, parenthesis, which was not made out of fake stone or even fake wood, which frankly at this point was somehow a little disappointing. And that parenthesis ends that sentence. The sentence which consists of literally just, there were no windows on the entire vehicle. But you could pay an extra fee to watch the outside through a camera. I hacked the outside viewing feed and backburnered it, and spent the time watching Venture Nebula, which isn't as far from reality as Timestream Defenders or Ryan, but it's close.
Why do they keep giving us names for fucking shitty TV shows that don't matter instead of doing actual world building or giving us any characters with actual personalities?
Because that would require effort. I also downloaded some new shows from the entertainment feed, but that didn't raise my performance reliability the way it usually did.
What is it at that it needs to be?
We don't know. We don't know. We haven't even gotten a percentage.
The one,
despite that being a thing that's been like very few reliable things in this series, is that we'll know what Murderbot's reliability percentage is at, even when that doesn't actually impact its reliability. There, I have to use the bathroom so you can sit and just say stuff, but I don't know how to follow.
You can't. This is ridiculous. This is beyond fucking ridiculous. Anyways, I'm sitting over here crocheting. So, pro tip if you're crocheting, you're making a circle to make a hat or a bag or something, you don't have to count once you're past a certain point. You can just start putting your increase rounds or your increase stitches in the increase thing on the round before it. So you will literally just do normal stitches until you get to an increase, and then you just do another increase, and you don't have to keep track of counting. Yeah, this is absurdity.
I'll do this. I'll just write fast forward. Wow, paint is lagging.
I'm not even just, you can fast forward until we scroll back up. Okay. Wow. Oh my god. Just scroll up and I drew a fast forward thing for people to see. Oh, he ate like 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Mensa would say my heart wasn't in it, and I would tell her I don't have a heart. I had something, and it wasn't happy. New parenthesis. Emotion check. If any of them are hurt or dead, I don't know what I'll do. End parenthesis.
These don't give a fuck about these people. These aren't people Murderbot cares about. They are literally just more slave owners.
That's a lie. I do know, but I don't want the emotion check module to record that. End of chapter 2.
So, but this isn't commentary on, wow, now I kind of feel bad for spying on other people.
Nope.
A thing that the first book did understand was bad. Now the entire rest of the series, just like everything, said, nope, just kidding. Just kidding.
Chapter 3. I disembarked from the ground transport, new parenthesis, that could just as easily have been a transit pipe, end parenthesis, hold on. End parenthesis, new parenthesis, with windows, end parenthesis, and followed the human passengers into the arrival level of the target mountain. Mountain is in quotation marks this whole time, by the way. Even though it's literally described as a mountain.
It's a mountain.
If it looks like a mountain and it quacks like a mountain, it's probably a mountain. You can just call it a mountain. You don't need to pad the fucking page count by adding 2 parentheses around it every time. It was a surprisingly normal, new parenthesis, not pretending to be a cave, enclosed space with a long platform to load and unload the vehicle. I'm too lazy to say end parenthesis, so you can just imagine where the fuck it ends. I'll say end parenthesis if there's a... I'll say end parenthesis specifically if there's an immediately following one, because you'll hear the pure exasperation. Enclosed space with a long platform to load and unload the vehicle, with an infotainment feed and hologram ads for things available in the complex above. It was busy, humans exiting and boarding vehicles, a lot of them small and private, others multi-passenger and windowless. The vehicles, start parenthesis. The vehicles, not the humans.
Just say end parenthesis.
End parenthesis. Despite the amount of traffic, the security was tight. Despite the amount of traffic, the security was tight.
Even though there's a
That should be because of the traffic, the security was tight. What do you mean? This is an airport.
This is only an international airport. I can't believe the security's so tight.
It's so busy. Why is the security so tight? Jesus Christ, why do you think? I had to hack a weapon scanner and had my fake ID chip checked. Security was tight, so I had to hack a weapon scanner so it wouldn't ping me effortlessly. So effortless that it happened off screen and in the span of a single sentence. And I had my fake ID chip checked.
God forbid we.
This is super tight security. And this all happened in the past. This happened in the past. Murderbot's not actually doing this on screen. This already happened. We're being told it happened in the past because this is passive sentence construction and shit. And it's literally in the past tense. Then I went up the ramp into a giant ice cavern with rock walls interspersed with sections of fake ice, random boulders, fake snowdrifts, stalagmites and stalactites, new parenthesis, I couldn't remember which was which and couldn't be asked to query my archive for it, end parenthesis, and a waterfall pouring down into a series of pools and connecting streams, some of
Why
which
is
had
there-
bridges. Others seemed to be there just to impede access across the floor and cause chaos in any kind of evacuation situation.
There are
Somebody, like, we're making all these big deals about weapons, checkpoints, security checkpoints. Why are guns at all allowed on this station? Literally anybody can just point a gun straight up and everybody's fucked. Go up multiple levels on all these little shops and shit that are up in the air and just shoot upwards. And everybody's fucked. And if enough people do that, even if one bullet's not enough, over time, everybody's fucked because now you're all vented into space through a tiny ass fucking pinhole. At least most of the floor was level polished stone, and the light was brighter than a real cave, but there was way too much gratuitous dripping from the stalag whichevers. Who knows? I walked over to the center island where there were couches and chairs, humans waiting, sitting, and talking, and the infotainment feed was running a hologram art show / advertising display. I sat down and pretended to be watching it while I very carefully explored the installation's feed. Yeah, their systems were proprietary and sequestered, even more so than other private feeds I'd encountered. Even the infotainment feed was different from the public one down in the transport bay. As a preventative measure, it was great. It's not like I don't recommend it. But if they didn't want to be hacked, they should have stopped me before I got here. Which is not only just the whole, overpowered protagonist, meaning there's absolutely no fucking stakes, that's also just the basis of a rape joke. If they didn't want it to happen, they should have stopped me. There's literally no other basis for this fucking joke except for rape jokes and victim blaming. It's literally a rape joke. If they didn't want to be infiltrated, they should have stopped me before I got here. Once their sex system was convinced it was totally fine for me to be browsing around in it, more than fine, actually. More than fine, actually. I was a component that had always been here. I checked for alerts associated with my entry code.
At this point, I hope
it was clear.
I hope gets
So it's their security is so tight. Despite the traffic, their security is so tight. And then Murderbot just effortlessly hacks their sex system off screen. So it thinks that it belongs there. And has always been there, in fact. Threat assessment was not alerting, and I realized I had been so certain I was walking into a capture / death situation that I had maybe not planned past this point. I mean, we had an exit plan. I just hadn't really thought I'd ever get to use it.
Where is this coming from?
SpongeBob. It's plankton. It's literally a fucking joke from SpongeBob.
Even though it doesn't make any fucking sense here. This doesn't.
I had been so certain I was walking into certain death that I didn't know what to do at this point. We had an exit plan, but I had been utterly convinced I wouldn't get to use it. So why are you here again? And you've not been anxious this whole time. You have not been antsy.
Are we pretending Murderbot is suicidal right now?
I guess
that it came here as a suicidal fucking.
It's either supposed to be suicidal or it's supposed to be so PTSD riddled and anxiety filled that it's almost incapable of thinking of its own fucking life as having any possibility of going forward, but we're not conveying that. But it came here.
Assuming it's going to die.
And it brought 3 here.
So it's suicidal right now.
Yep, I guess. Emotion check in a new parenthesis. I would actually like to be less in touch with my emotions, except when I'm watching media, all the emotions are about it. Or no, except for emotion check. I would actually like to be less in touch with my emotions, except when I'm watching media and all the emotions are about it. End parenthesis. So we're saying this when it's relieved about the fact that now it gets to put its action plan in thing because things are going right. And it doesn't want to be in touch with its emotions. I was still angry, just now I was ... I would say numb, but I felt numb before, and it was more restful than this. I don't know, let's just fucking do this. And look, that's a thing that actually conveys impatience. It's a shame that totally was not present for the entire first fucking 2 chapters of shit. And won't be present past this either, I don't think. To get to the targets, I had to, and note, we are 3 chapters in to a 13-chapter book. We still don't know who the fucking targets are. I know, because I'm like more than halfway through, and jack squat has fucking happened. But we are 3 chapters in, and we still don't know who the targets are, or why Murderbot is here, or who was taken, or why, or anything. We are 3 chapters in, and we're still just spinning our wheels, floundering around, not doing anything, not telling anything to the reader, because it's supposed to be shocking, and a big reveal, and a plot hook. But you can only drag a fucking fish so long before your fucking line snaps, and they swim away. To get to the targets, I had to go to a private habitation section that was supposed to be somewhere in this installation. Humans lived on almost all the stations I had been to, just in areas that weren't near the transit rings or other docking facilities. There had never been a reason for me to go into one of those areas, not that I had ever wanted to. The housing on Preservation Station wasn't in big clumps like in a lot of other stations or these complexes. It was spread out throughout the station in small clusters. Rathy had told me it was because humans in Preservation liked to live near where they did their work, if they couldn't do it from their homes, and or as close to relatives and friends as possible. We're restarting the sentence. You can hear my emphasis, because this one did have my note not randomly get deleted. Or this was a part where I'd maybe started taking notes on the Kindle at like 3 in the fucking morning. To get to the targets, I had to go to a private habitation section that was supposed to be somewhere in this installation. Humans lived on almost all the stations I had been to, just in areas that weren't near the transit rings or other docking faculties. There had never been a reason for me to go into one of those areas, not that I had ever wanted to. The housing on Preservation Station wasn't in big clumps like in a lot of other stations or these complexes. It was spread out throughout the station in small clusters. Rathy had told me it was because humans in Preservation liked to live near where they did their work, if they couldn't do it from their homes, and or as close to relatives and friends as possible. And my note, which is still here, or maybe the first note that I actually typed out, says, "That just means they don't have good public transportation? Hello? They want to live really close to their jobs? To what? Save on fucking gas? That's the only conclusion you can draw from this. They want to live really close to their homes if they can't do to their jobs, if they can't do remote work. Why though?
What kind of jobs do people in Preservation even do when the robots are doing all of the manual labor, including the farming?
Well, we know they do colonizing as a job.
What do they even do, though? Because we literally don't know any of their jobs, besides Pinley is a lawyer. We don't know anybody's job.
We don't even know what Rathy's a doctor of. Or his first name, or his last name, for that matter. Saying that people in Preservation like to live as close to their work as possible, or as close to loved ones and friends as possible if they did remote work, just means that Preservation has absolutely fucking shit public transportation. That's what that means. That means these people, quote, want to live super close to their places of employment because there would be a detriment if they didn't. It should be the fucking opposite on Preservation, our little slave labor-run fucking utopia. Because they shouldn't have to live super duper close to their jobs. They should all be able to live in these big internet communities of people. Not just as close to their jobs or as close specifically to relatives and friends. That's this whole insular... It's not on purpose.
Saying that, I was literally going to be like, so they're literally so isolationist that it extends to their housing.
Yes. They're so fucking isolationist.
They live in gated communities.
They live in gated communities. Either by their jobs because there's shit-ass public transportation available to them and they don't want to waste money on gas, or they want to explicitly live by their relatives or friends. There's no big communities. There's no big neighborhoods. It's just insular little bubbles and people who all have the same job, who have to live near their job. See what happens when you apply logic and actual well building to shit in these things? The inhabited areas on the planet were arranged in the same way, which is still talking about preservation, by the way, because we're talking about preservation station. I don't know anybody who would want to live really close to their job unless they had to rely on fucking shitty public transportation, which shouldn't exist on preservation because we were just told that preservation has lots of public transportation and, quote, mobility aids, quote, for people to get around with. I found the right habitation section on the map. I'd have to pass through 2 security sections to reach it, but I already had control of their sex system. So, I got moving. Here's another one where I had a note. It just says, I would say this is pathetic, but at least we are doing a time skip. I'd have to pass through 2 security sections, but I already had complete control of their sex system. So, period. I got moving. Period. Fortunately, the whole rocks and ice mountain decorating theme was not carried through completely. I'd had doubts while searching through the caves for the right bank of lift tubes, but once I found it, it looked normal, and I didn't have to climb a cliff or slog up icy crevices like what you have to do on actual mountains. I had to change lift tube banks. Yep. I had to change lift tube banks twice and go through an ID check that my chip would have certainly failed if I hadn't made sex system my best friend. You already effortlessly had your fucking fake ID chip scanned perfectly before you'd even hacked sex system. Why would it fail now if you hadn't already been best friends with their sex system? Oh wait, it's because the plot, a thing you do literally every single time, effortlessly, as soon as the plot no longer demands that you can't do that for that exact moment. Why would it fail? Why would it fail? Why would it fail when it literally has effortlessly worked for every single thing up until this point? Why would it only fail when you've already got the fucking magical hand-waving thing? It's just like the fucking 10th Doctor. Just fucking dying all the time. Permanently, without regenerating! Only because Martha... Oh god, poor Martha. Martha Jones! Not Martha Wells. Fucking Martha Jones, who deserves so much better. I'm gonna try not to break my computer out of rage for Martha Jones' sake. Okay. That poor ass fucking Martha Jones is there to be the plot device to bring him back to life through CPR every single time, and specifically just do it as like fucking romance bait by romanticizing CPR as kissing because she has unrequited love for this magical white man who literally just throws her aside. Anyways, Martha Jones deserved better. 2026. If Russell T Davies tries to bring her back onto the show and pulls that shit again, I'm gonna fucking swim across the fucking English Channel. Wait, no, I think that's what... I'll swim across the fucking ocean. Probably drown halfway and then come back as a ghost and hunt him down. But yeah. Murderbot's fake ID chip would certainly have failed if it hadn't already been besties with sex system in the exact same way that the 10th Doctor will just randomly die every other fucking episode and have his heart stop with no chance of regeneration. Except Martha Jones is there to bring him back, and that's why that happens. This is lazy and bad writing.
Could know how to do CPR.
Yep.
Not like that's a basic thing that everybody should get taught.
Yep. And it's not even through actual medical advanced shit that you would need a medical degree to do or understand. It's literally just fucking CPR.
You know what we could have done if anybody gave any fucks? Have Martha Jones teach another character how to do CPR the proper way so that everybody in the audience knows how to do it.
Staying alive, staying alive. That's the actual literal American Red Cross thing that you're supposed to use as a tempo for CPR. Look it up. It's an actual good video that's funny, you know, in the whole irony poisoning thing, in that it's easier for people to accept information when it's framed as a joke. And they use that to their advantage to teach people how to perform fucking CPR that will literally save lives. Go look it up. Pretty sure it's the American Red Cross. It's that one Asian comedian actor. He was in the fucking vampire Twilight parody thing. He's in a lot of things. Look it up. If you don't know how to do CPR, you will. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, this is just the bad writing, and the plot contrivances no longer contriving because there's already another plot contrivance in effect for it to work, but we still gotta try to add some fake ass tension there that doesn't exist because there's already been a new plot contrivance. The final bank of lift tubes were locked to resident IDs, but the system in charge of sorting that out was not exactly high security. Again, we're introducing a problem. We're introducing a potential roadblock, but it's already been solved off screen. This is all happening in the past. We're not actually walking through this with Murderbot as it encounters these things. We're just being told, oh yeah, this happened, and then this happened, and I solved this, and this happened, and I solved that.
None of it was ever actually a problem.
None of it was ever actually a problem. Certain levels were only accessible from certain other levels controlled by other systems, which sucked for me because it was complicated, but as a security measure, it took me nearly 0.3 seconds to figure out. Thanks, that sentence made my previous comment even more relevant. This is not how you add tension or stakes or drama to your story. This is how you bore your readers because your protagonist is so overpowered, they either blow through every single enemy effortlessly, or when they don't blow through every enemy effortlessly, it's because bad writing.
We're claiming that, what was that, 1.3 seconds or just 0.3 seconds?
It's just 0.3 seconds.
And Martha Wells is claiming that's how you know it's difficult, because it takes 0.3 seconds.
That's 1/3 of a second. Take a single second of this YouTube video and divide that by 3. That's how long it took Murderbot to figure out this really advanced and complicated security system.
We're supposed to pretend that there's any stakes in this story at all, or that this is how actual oppression works.
The lift tube lobby opened up onto a large section. Did I write a note there? Yes, I did. My note there consists of, Jesus fucking Christ, have you considered showing your character having to put effort in ever? Or are you just gonna tell us shit after the fact? In all capital letters. The lift tube lobby opened up onto a large section of multi-level housing, with a recreation area going down the center featuring trees and other flora and seating areas. The curved ceiling was a fake sky, currently showing what was, according to the local feed, which is inside a parenthesis, early morning light on the planet below. The walkways were made to look like uneven stones. At least everything else was made with just the usual textured building materials and not caves. What do you mean, usual textured building materials? What does that even fucking mean? Still no security alerts. Because of course not. The trees were blocking the view of most of the section, but I was in the feed for the cameras and couldn't see any suspiciously nervous or alert groups of hostiles loitering anywhere. So again, the trees were blocking my view of most of the section, introducing a potential obstacle. But that's okay, because I was in the feed on the cameras and I couldn't see anything suspicious at all with my 360-degree view for miles and miles around. And then we immediately blow past it, effortlessly, off screen, in the past. There wasn't much loitering going on at all. All the humans visible were obviously headed towards homes or to the access lift tube lobby, and all the body language was reading to threat assessment as non-hostile. I have another note here. It says, to at some point when my Kindle is not dying or liable to explode from trying to keyword search so many things so many times, says, search for how many times threat assessment gets mentioned in each book, usually, because it seems like a lot in this one.
It is.
A few delivery bots and security drones were in range, but I had changed my ping, so if they scanned me, all they would see was another bot who was supposed to be here. What's my note there? My note there is, Jesus fucking Christ 2, Electric Boogaloo. Because the entire fucking huge-ass, dramatic, literal torture introduction for art in the second book is non-consensually coercing Murderbot into undergoing torture without anesthesia, literal medical abuse. This is supposed to be funny and quirky, ha ha ha, that Murderbot is unable to say no to, and thus cannot actually give consent, is torturing Murderbot by chopping a centimeter off of every single fucking elbow and knee joint.
No,
and then putting it together again.
It's worse than that. It's above and below each elbow and knee joint.
So it's either 1 centimeter length cut, or it's 2 half-centimeter cuts around the joints to make it stronger. Or to make it fucking shorter.
Yeah.
Without anesthesia, having the entire fucking arm...
Without being sewn back together, literally lying in a pool of its own blood in so much agony it could barely think, for hours.
And if this is absolutely horrifying information to you, to hear that Murderbot literally underwent a fucking medical procedure without anesthesia, without being knocked out, without anything, and had both of its arms and both of its legs removed below the elbow. Yep, this is while Murderbot was being
and this was
informed.
All portrayed as good.
Yep.
And nothing to be concerned about.
But yeah, Murderbot had its entire fucking, both of its fucking arms. Can you load? Separated. This is literally what happened. If this is like squeaking you out, this is what Martha Wells wants you to view as fucking not noteworthy at all. I didn't even draw all the legs there. Yeah, it had all 4 of its limbs chopped off by Art, who's playing fucking sadistic doll player. Completely removed. And then reattached once. Barely reattached.
Because it was still literally bleeding for.
Yeah, and then Murderbot was just left to lie in a pool of its own blood on the thing without painkillers for hours and hours and hours until it could get up enough fucking rub 2 fucking wires in its brain cells together to work up the fucking concentration needed to dial down its pain sensors or whatever the fuck it was. So yeah, that's the thing that happened in book 2, that you're just supposed to ignore the horror of this and the agony and the literal torture and the horrific actions that the fucking Art took. That whole thing happened because Murderbot would be unmistakable as a sec unit otherwise. And then they did all that, and then Murderbot got to the station and was instantly recognized as a fucking sec unit.
He instantly got told that anyone who pinged it would know it was a sec unit, as though all of that hadn't been done specifically to prevent that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now, what is that? 5? No.
9 years later.
9 years later, we were just told that Murderbot off screen, effortlessly, casually, had changed its pings. So if any bots or even security drones scanned it, they would just see a fucking bot who was supposed to be here.
What kind of fucking...
Who knows? Exactly. Why would if you were scanned by a fucking security drone and you came back as a bot who's supposed to be here, what kind of bot are they seeing? What are you showing up as? Are you showing up as a human form android like Data, which is what Mickey is presumably supposed to fucking look like? Anyways. Okay then. I started along the nearest walkway. According to the map, some of the homes were on more than one level, and the balconies, large flora, and decorative privacy barriers along the walkways made it hard to figure out which was which without the feed markers. Okay, I am gonna shrink this because it's very big. So
you can't.
Boo. I almost walked
I mean,
past.
you can just manually shrink the whole thing. It's not like you
True.
need the picture there. Or you could just, like, yeah, just do that. It's not like it needs to be. Just make it tiny. You got all the images saved.
This is how big this picture is. We're at 10% zoom right now, by the way, guys. Anyways, while this loads, I'll reread the sentence because I do have another note here that was preserved. So I guess I just wasn't even taking notes at the beginning of the story. And then I got too far into exasperation at like 1:30 in the morning and started taking notes at that point. According to the map, some of the homes were on more than one level, and the balconies, large flora, and decorative privacy barriers along the walkways made it hard to figure out which was which without the feed markers. I almost walked past the one I was looking for because it didn't have a feed marker. Huh. It didn't have any feed connections at all, at least from the outside. It was a big null in the happy, active, calm, and feed traffic of the rest of the habitat. What's my note here? It's melting face emoji. Wait, no, that's because that's for the thing I still have to finish reading the giant ass fucking section I highlighted. I paused, using a large bush to screen myself from the house. I was still deleting myself from the cameras, and there weren't any humans in visual range right now. Poking at the nearest camera feed, I could tell the house, new parenthesis. Be able to center this because new paint fucking sucks. New parenthesis. I could tell that the house, which is the new parenthesis here, 2 levels, no balcony, flora, and one-way privacy screens over the windows, and parenthesis, was angled so that it was in a visual blank spot. Barisha strands of security had to know it was here. It was on the map, though there were no personal directory entries for whoever was living in it. And then I just put a melting face emoji in reaction to this bullshit. So, this thing's on the map. There's absolutely no sensor data at all for it anywhere, but it's being allowed to continue in this state. And it's a giant null bubble in all of the feed traffic that literally anybody and any security drones, including the ones that are apparently flying around, are going to immediately pick up. But without the code, I wouldn't have been able to locate it. Which meant it was intended for humans who wanted/needed not to be casually found by anybody who didn't already know they were there. Which meant this was the right place. I stepped through the gate in the privacy barrier into a small open space with some potted plants and a pad for drone deliveries. I walked up to the door. This close, I felt a feed, but it was a sequestered one, confined to the house. Walking within range of it would have notified the inhabitants that I was here. New parenthesis. And also note, it's a sequestered feed that's confined to the house.
But Murderbot can literally fucking detect it, even though we're told this shit is completely undetectable to anyone.
Yeah, so take note. There's a feed that is confined to the range of the house's interior. Explicitly tied just to its interior. This will come up again. This close, I felt a feed, but it was a sequestered one, confined to the house. Walking within range of it would have notified the inhabitants that I was here. And then the new parenthesis, I don't remember if I counted that yet.
No, you didn't.
Okay. There was a long, new parenthesis. It was long for me, or it was long to me, end parenthesis, hesitation. What? You didn't knock. You walk up to the door.
We're being told that.
Okay, it walked up to the door. It feels that there's a feed, and it's assuming that the people inside would have had an automatic doorbell go off. Then there was a long hesitation. From who? It can only be from you. Why are we acting as though anybody else in this environment is hesitating? There was a long hesitation period. I picked up the residential feed, but there were no cameras active inside the house. I could find out what they had put into the recycler in the last 4 hours and what their food storage had listed as items to be refilled, but no actual intel. Why are we saying I hesitated for a long moment? No.
Why are we pretending it's off the grid?
We're pretending it's off the grid because that causes some tension. Because Murderbot doesn't know what's inside automatically.
Even though it does.
Even though it does, yep. I sighed. New parenthesis. Internally, because if there aren't any humans around to see it and be annoyed by it, there's no point. End parenthesis. Exactly. None of you could hear that, but there was a quiet what from the other side. Why? Since when does Murderbot sigh out loud Huh? Yeah, anti-cardboard. Why would Murderbot only sigh out loud when it can explicitly do it around humans, explicitly to annoy them? When has it ever sighed out loud to annoy humans for the sole purpose of annoying humans? Are we supposed to be trying to insist again that Murderbot somehow hates humans? Yeah, the author likes to say that Murderbot prioritizes relationships with other robots over humans.
Imagine if this.
Please cite your sources.
I mean, she's also the one who says that Murderbot chose to reveal that its governor module was hacked in book 1. So.
I sighed. I don't have all fucking day.
What? No, hold on. You can't sigh internally.
Yeah.
That's
you can't sigh internally.
Not physically. And if Murderbot isn't actually sighing, then it's not sighing internally. It would just be sighing. Sighing internally is when you want to do it, but you can't because of social conventions or something. This is bullshit.
I don't have all fucking day. I was pulling an episode of Sanctuary Moon when I got a request from the feed. They wanted the code.
Oh, fuck off, Murderbot. You don't need to be here. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Just leave.
It could have also just been watching an episode of Sanctuary Moon the entire time it was on the